TikTok, you bang on time. It is 9 o'clock on the nose, and this is the Daily Report. My name is Debarl, Inea, and a hearty welcome to you. Today, of course, in the program, we shall be looking at the state of the nation, and we have the following guests just awaiting for you for a very incisive discussion on the state of the nation, looking at what is happening currently and the state of play, where we have ODM with their PG, and of course we shall be looking at the UDA and ODM as well, that touted alliance that is eagerly being awaited. We know the 7th also will be a big day. That is the 27th of March, where we shall be having the ODM having their NDC. So what do we have as far as the party politics is concerned? But before we head there, let's look at the highlights. Tonight, a requiem mass held in Nairobi for the 6 victims of the Nandi helicopter crash, as families and leaders gather to honor their lives ahead of the burials scheduled for Friday and Saturday. Also tonight, the main suspect in the killing of hairdresser Florence Nyaga, who was found dead in her Roysambu apartment, has surrendered to police. Plus, Treasury CS John Mbadi announces that 90% of the proceeds from the Kenya Pipeline Company IPO will be channeled into the National Infrastructure Fund. Welcome to the broadcast, and flying with me on the sign language desk is Catherine Simaloy. Now, a requiem mass for the 6 people who lost their lives in last Saturday's evening's helicopter crash in Nandi was held today at the Africa Gospel Church in Karen, Nairobi. The emotional service brought together family members, friends, leaders, and colleagues in a solemn moment of reflection and prayer. Another memorial service is scheduled for tomorrow in Emurwa, Dikir, as mourners continue to come to terms with the devastating loss. Sheila Chelangat starts us off.
Their bodies lying here.
The requiem mass for the departed 6 took place at AGC Church in Karen. The heaviness of the occasion very evident on the faces of all those present to pay their final respects. This service honoring MP Johanna Ngeno, cameraman Nicholas Koskei, KFS officer Amos Rotich, teacher Carlos Keter, Wycliffe Frono, and Captain George Were.
As you can look at our church, it was not structured to receive such number of bodies here in front. And it only serves to bring to our conscience the depth of loss.
Family members sharing memories of their loved ones, recalling memories of their days together.
Losing you feels like losing the music of my youth, the laughter, the dreams, the simplicity of believing we had endless time. But even death cannot take what we built.
When he got there, I worked with Mheshimiwa to be his camera person. So I think the light of the family has really gone dim.
He's choppered so many of the dignitaries we have in the house today, in the church today. And he did his work with the zeal and the determination of a professional pilot.
Also evident was the deep bond between MP Ngeno and his crew, together even in their final hours on earth.
He is the one who survived for about 30 minutes, but when he was interrogated, he only asked a question. He said, "Where is Mheshimiwa?" And he was told directly, "Mheshimiwa has perished." He said, "If Johanna Ngeno has perished, there is no reason for me being alive." And he breathed his last the next 2 minutes.
On their part, leaders present remembered MP Inea as a dedicated and selfless leader who deeply valued his electorate and remained committed to serving their interests.
Mukioko function, unasikia commotion. Unauliza what is happening, unasema Johanna is coming. And he will arrive and change the mood of the meeting. That was Johanna.
How he combined his very strong character as a very strong defender of his people, sometimes very abrasive, but he would combine that with his very easy laughter.
As the nation continues to mourn the victims of the helicopter crash, the coming days now mark their final send-off. For many here, grief is heavy, but so is their resolve to honor their memories. Sheila Chelangat for TV47 in Nairobi.
An officer attached to the Directorate of Criminal Investigations headquarters has surrendered to police in Naivasha following allegations of murder. Nairobi North Regional Police Commander, that is Emmanuel Rono, confirmed the incident, stating that the suspect presented himself to authorities and was later transported to Nairobi on Tuesday for further questioning. Udoni Brenda Hasmo.
A detective attached to the Directorate of Criminal Investigations has surrendered to police after allegedly killing his longtime partner Florence Nyaga. The detective turned himself in at Naivasha Police Station on Tuesday night with stitched wounds, according to Nairobi North Sub-Regional Police Commander Emmanuel Rono.
He appeared sickly and disturbed. So I can confirm there was a wound that was stitched.
The Sub-Regional Police Commander further revealed that the suspect, identified as Masharia and attached to the DCI headquarters along Kiambu Road, allegedly committed the murder on Friday night before switching off his mobile phones and going into hiding.
If the suspect was able to surrender himself to the police station at Naivasha, that was an act of guilty mind, and he'll be able to give more information on the same.
He is currently being held at Kasarani Police Station as investigations continue.
Give the DCI time to conclude the investigation, and soon justice will prevail to the suspects and to the family members.
Earlier Wednesday, detectives revisited the crime scene and collected the officer's uniform as part of the ongoing probe. According to a source familiar with the investigation, the suspect reportedly told officers that his wife had hurt him and that he decided to hurt her a little in return. Police say the motive behind the killing has not yet been established. The deceased family claims the couple had been experiencing long-standing conflict and tension, and in the days leading up to her death, Florence is said to have confided that they were also facing financial difficulties.
Aliniambia ni wako na financials, wako na mambo za finance, like nyumba ijalipwa, kuna deni.
Udoni Brenda for TV47.
The Director of Public Prosecutions, that is, has formally charged controversial preacher Paul Ndenge Mackenzie and 7 others in connection with the Kwabinzaro massacre. The 8 accused appeared before High Court Judge Wendy Kangendo in Mombasa, where they pleaded not guilty to the charges. The court ordered that the accused remain in custody pending trial as preparations for the case begin. This report was produced by Moluse Meshak.
After months of back and forth within the corridors of justice, controversial preacher Paul Ndenge Mackenzie and 7 others have been charged over the Kwabinzaro massacre. The Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions arraigned the 8 before High Court Judge Wendy Kangendo in Mombasa, where they pleaded not guilty to all charges. Mackenzie and 5 co-accused face 23 counts of murder as crimes against humanity under the International Crimes Act and the Rome Statute. Prosecutors allege the killings targeted 23 members of the Good News International Church aged between 6 months and 18 years in in what they describe as a coordinated and deliberate operation. They are also charged with 23 counts of murder under the Penal Code. 2 other accused persons face accessory after the fact charges for allegedly helping suspects evade arrest in Mwingi and Mombasa counties in July last year. The court ordered Mackenzie remanded at Shimolatewa prison, while his co-accused will remain at Malindi GK prison pending transfer arrangements. The prosecution says it will call 128 witnesses. The matter will be mentioned on March 18, 2026.
Kenya Airways has launched urgent repatriation flights between Nairobi and Dubai on the 4th and 5th of March following escalating regional military conflict that has forced a total airspace shutdown. The closure, triggered by missile strikes involving United States and Iranian forces, left thousands stranded since late February. Although regular flight schedules remain suspended, special clearance has been granted to facilitate the safe return of citizens and residents under strict safety protocols. Our reporter, Michelle Mwangi, has the details.
Just days after the Dubai International Airport shutdown left thousands stranded, a limited pathway back home is finally in sight. This comes after the widening US-Israel war against Iran, which triggered Iranian missile and drone strikes across the Gulf region, forcing airspace closures and suspension of regular flight operations for passenger safety. Kenya Airways will operate special repatriation flights from Nairobi to Dubai on the 4th of March and return flights from Dubai to Nairobi on the 5th of March. This clearance follows guidelines from UAE authorities following restricted movements at Dubai International Airport strictly for repatriation. However, passengers are informed that these are not regular scheduled flights, but designated services exclusively for citizens and UAE residents seeking to return home. Passengers in Dubai have been urged not to proceed to the airport until they received confirmed departure flight details, as scheduled flights to Dubai remain suspended pending further approvals. Michelle Mwangi, TV47, Nairobi.
Now, Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi has announced that proceeds from the Kenya Pipeline Company initial public offering will be channeled into the National Infrastructure Fund. The move is expected to accelerate Kenya's economic transformation by financing critical development projects while easing pressure on public borrowing and taxation. The government says the strategy will unlock sustainable funding for priority infrastructure and strengthen long-term economic growth.
More than 70,000 Kenyans have participated in the KPC initial public offering, which was oversubscribed at 105.7%. After investors applied for 12.49 billion shares against the 11.8 billion on offer at 9 shillings each. Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi has announced. According to Treasury CS John Mbadi, Kenyan investors were allocated 67.3% of the shares, while East African community investors received 32.7% of the offer. The IPO also attracted regional participation, including the governments of Uganda and Rwanda.
If you look at this, Kenyans, together with their government, we still own 79% in KPC, and about 21% is going to be owned by East African community, the rest of our brothers in the East African, and almost nothing to foreigners.
Data from the National Treasury shows that the government of Kenya retained a 35% stake in KPC. Institutional investors accounted for 41% of the allocations. East African community investors 21.22%, retail investors 2.56%, Regional investors 0.02%, oil marketers at 0.014%, and KPC employees at 0.06%. Treasury CS John Mbadi said proceeds from the IPO will be channeled through the National Infrastructure Fund to finance key projects, including highways, railways, ports, energy system, and irrigation schemes. He noted that the fund will play a central role in mobilizing long-term financing, attracting private investment, and reducing reliance on debt and taxation to support development.
The proceeds of the IPO shall be deployed into the National Infrastructure Fund, a vehicle we have purposed the premier economic engine to scale up and accelerate development of catalytic national infrastructure.
In a statement, President William Ruto welcomed the successful outcome of the IPO, describing it as a milestone for Kenya's capital markets. The president says more than 67% of the investors were Kenyans who invested individually and through institutions, broadening public ownership of national assets while promoting wealth diversification and equal opportunity.
Still on the infrastructure fund, National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah has mounted a strong defense for the proposed National Infrastructure Fund, terming it a long-conceived strategy aimed at reforming Kenya's development financing model and reducing reliance on public debt. Speaking in the National Assembly, Ichung'wah dismissed claims that the proposal was rushed or reactionary, insisting the bill is anchored in the Kenya Kwanza manifesto and aligned with ongoing legislative reforms. However, a section of members of parliament opposed the bill, arguing that the infrastructure fund could worsen the country's already heavy debt burden and weaken parliament oversight role.
We need to go on record and disabuse this notion that this is an independent fund, has nothing to do with public debt. In essence, Honorable Speaker, the basic interpretation of the two clauses is that this is public, they are going to borrow using the back door, using another law to borrow funds to fund commercially viable projects. So this issue, Honorable Speaker, we must become very clear.
Once we force this fund to become an act of parliament, honorable members, there will be minimal oversight by this House. Matters in terms of how do you apply the resources and in terms of how have the resources been utilized so that you can confirm that the resources were used for public interest. That's an area as a House. If you pass as it is, Honorable Speaker, we will be having a challenge, Honorable Speaker.
Together with statements of income and expenditure for every financial year. And thereafter, as I said, in line with that, the provisions of our Constitution, it is you in the National Assembly, not even in the other House, here in the National Assembly. Honorable Speaker, the other misconception that I have had is that this is another ingenious way of borrowing. Far from the truth, Honorable Speaker. And I had time to explain to Honorable Oundo after his contribution, because I like listening to Honorable Oundo, Honorable Makali, because they base their arguments on what they have read, unlike some of us who have not read the bill and just oppose for the sake of opposing. And I explained to Honorable Oundo that this, unlike what was being said by another member who speaks too much in workshops and conferences and press conferences opposing everything government, the fund is an investment vehicle.
Let's turn the crack now to matters academia, where Education Cabinet Secretary Julius Migos Ogamba has called on universities across the country to step up preparations ahead of a transition of competency-based education learners expected to join institutions of higher learning in 2029. Addressing Vice Chancellors, the CS emphasized the need for institutions to align academic programs with market demands in order to tackle rising graduate unemployment. As Quinto Wafula now reports, the government has pledged support to ensure universities are adequately equipped for the transition.
Speaking in Mombasa during the opening of a summit for Vice Chancellors of Public Universities, Education CS underscored the need for collective efforts to strengthen and ensure sustainable development within the country's institutions of higher learning.
And our higher education institution sustainability through discussions on quality assurance, on governance, on resource mobilization, and promoting innovation and commercialization.
As the CBE curriculum continues to take shape, the CS has noted that early and strategic preparations will be critical in managing the transition, with nearly 600,000 learners expected to join universities in 2029.
And if 600,000 of them meet expectation, what will you use to say I cannot admit them to university? So if that is knowledge that we have now, what should we be doing? Preparing for 600,000 students?
With the number of unemployed graduates steadily rising, university leaders have been challenged to align academic programs with labor market demands rather than offering courses with limited employment prospects.
Our universities must anticipate emerging skills in science, in technology, engineering, in health, climate resilience, artificial intelligence, the blue economy, and entrepreneurship.
Additionally, the CS emphasized the importance of innovation and positioning universities as hubs for nurturing quality leadership. He further stated that the government has already implemented measures to guarantee affordable and quality education for all students. At the same time, he called upon university administrators to diversify their funding sources to enhance financial sustainability instead of relying solely on government support. Kinto Wafula, TV47, Mombasa.
President William Ruto has announced a significant salary increment for police constables, raising their monthly pay from 38,900 and 75,000 to 57,700. The move forms part of the government's broader plans to improve the welfare of security officers and enhance their living standards. According to the Ministry of Interior, the final phase of the salary increment for police officers, prison officers and National Youth Service personnel will be implemented in July 2026. The government says the increment is aimed at boosting morale, improving service delivery and recognizing the critical role played by security agencies in maintaining peace and stability across the country.
Mheshimiwa Rais, watakaopita mbele yako hawa wanatoka.
Now, a section of Nairobi members of a county assembly allied to the broad-based government has rejected a renewed push to impeach Johnson Sakaja. The fresh impeachment attempt comes less than a year after a similar motion was narrowly defeated, exposing deepening divisions within the county assembly. Our political affairs reporter Mike Kagwongo has the details.
Efforts by a section of Nairobi MCAs to initiate an impeachment motion against Nairobi City County Governor Johnson Sakaja are once again stirring political tensions at the City Hall here in Nairobi. Nairobi South Ward MCA Tawaid Rashege says legislators backing the move are preparing to submit a motion to the Assembly Clerk outlining 22 grounds for the governor's removal, although the details have not been made public. But MCAs allied to the broad-based government have dismissed the move, terming it unnecessary and politically motivated.
We've come unanimously that as Azimio, as it stands, before the 90 days, we stand firm that we are not part of the impeachment motion, and also backed up by the Azimio, by the broad-based member of the County Assembly from the UDA side.
The renewed push comes just weeks after Governor Sakaja signed an 80 billion shillings cooperation agreement with the national government, a deal that has heightened tensions between the county executive and some members of the assembly. Previous attempts to impeach the governor cited delays in bursary disbursement, a stalled ward development fund, and unfulfilled campaign promises.
We remain guided by the last clear instructions from BAMBA and his counterpart, His Excellency Raila Amolo Odinga and Johnson Sakaja, the governor of Nairobi City County, to complete his mandate. We are therefore unequivocally opposed to any attempt to impeach the governor at its critical time.
Despite earlier reconciliation efforts facilitated by ODM leader Raila Odinga, divisions within the assembly appear to persist, setting the stage for another political showdown. Mike Kagwango, TV47, Nairobi.
Now, the National Executive Committee of the Orange Democratic Movement has confirmed that preparations are on course for the party's special National Delegates Convention slated for later this month. The high-stakes meeting is expected to determine the party's next political direction ahead of the 2027 general election. And as our senior political reporter tells us, leaders allied to party leader Oburu Oginga have maintained that the party is keen on concluding all pending internal matters ahead of the convention.
A meeting of ODM's National Executive Committee, attended by party leader Oburu Oginga and chaired by party chairperson Gladys Wanga, but boycotted by Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna and Deputy Party Leader Godfrey Osotsi, affirmed that the much-anticipated National Delegates Convention is on course.
And we want to take our party forward, and we want to conclude in that delegates conference all pending matters that the party is supposed to conclude.
The main agenda of the special NDC, scheduled for the 27th of this month, is to ratify the party's key organ's decision to have Oburu formally enter into negotiations with President William Ruto with the aim of forming a pre-election coalition with UDA, a move that has divided the party into two factions.
We are not discussing about other parties. People are free to register what they want to register. Ask us about ODM.
The push for the NDC comes as a party prepares for a joint parliamentary group meeting with UDA at the KICC on Tuesday next week, where members will receive a progress report on the 10-point agenda amid questions over its implementation status ahead of the first anniversary on Saturday.
But what I'd like to correct is the statement that the 10-point agenda is ending on 7. The 10-point agenda is moving this nation forward the way it was discussed and canvassed. It cannot have an end date.
ODM has already issued one of its irreducible minimums ahead of the talks, stating that it will not allow UDA to operate in its zones or strongholds in next year's general election. Apul Kamau, TV47.
Now, the 734 Kenyan police officers deployed in Haiti are beginning their journey home, with the second batch of approximately 225 officers scheduled to leave the Caribbean nation beginning next week. Their departure marks the conclusion of more than a year-long multinational security support mission that saw Kenya play a pivotal role in supporting the Haitian National Police amid escalating gang violence. Samira Mohammed has more.
Following a successful 21-month peacekeeping mission in Haiti, the fate of Kenyan police officers in the Caribbean nation is now sealed, according to top cop Douglas Kanja.
You know, the MSS mission is coming to an end by 31st March of this year. So we can say that we have relatively less than a month.
The Kenyan police officers deployed in Haiti are now set to begin their journey home. The first batch of approximately 225 officers will leave the Caribbean nation at the beginning of next week.
We have already put images to see to it that we pull our 734 officers who are in Haiti in a very, very structured way. We will be starting sometimes on 16th. We will be seeing the first batch of around 225 officers coming back. And then on 20th, going forward up to around 30th, we will be pulling out the last batch.
The departure marks the conclusion of 21-month-long multinational security support mission that saw Kenya play a pivotal role in supporting the Haitian National Police amid escalating gang violence in the Caribbean nation.
And we have also aligned a number of activities. Once they arrive here, we will be doing the counseling. We'll also be forming a team so that we can also be able to undertake what we call the after-action review, because the they have gotten some very good experiences that can also be able to assist us, going forward, especially when we have other missions.
The deployment of MSS was approved by the United Nations Security Council resolution in October 2023, reflecting the international community's recognition of the urgent security challenges facing Haiti. During the year-long mission, the MSS officers participated in joint patrols, secured sensitive locations, and trained local police units, contributing to a safer environment for both residents and humanitarian organizations. Their professionalism and discipline have been widely recognized by both Haitian authorities and international partners.
Our officers have also done very well, and we are really, really proud of what they have done there.
Meanwhile, a system audit in the National Police Service undertaken by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission painted a mixed picture in the National Police Service, acknowledging progress in some areas while exposing serious lapses in the service. These as IG Kanja welcomes ESSC findings and collaboration, vowing to restore integrity in the police service, which he acknowledged was grappling with ethical concerns. Samira Mohammed for TV47, Nairobi.
And that story by Samira Mohammed leads us to our station break. We'll be circling back with more on the other side of a break. Don't go away.
Sound guy for camera, all the different shoot days.
Burnout is closely related to work addiction, and may be its major consequence. There are many early signs of burnout: sleep and stomach issues, headaches, poor concentration, chronic exhaustion, and feeling more irritable.
My breaking point finally hit, and it started impacting my body, where I would be holding something as simple as like a cup of coffee and I'm trembling. I came home late from a shoot, and next thing I know, I'm dozing off behind the wheel. Had I not just swayed in a different direction, I don't think I'd be here. After the near-death experience, I went to go see the psychologist.
Work addiction can manifest itself physically, but it can also manifest itself mentally and emotionally. And that's when we speak about mental health challenges like anxiety, like depression, or I think one that is most common is that you're unable to just cope with everyday life. Things that you found very easy to do, you don't find so easy to do anymore.
I had some childhood things that I hadn't dealt with. Fear of feeling like I'm less than compared to most people.
I think at times you want to seek external validation, and in that way, you really want to work hard to gain the approval of someone else. And the opposite of that is to be internally validated, right? And in that way, you acknowledge your own strengths.
The best asset that I can invest in is myself. That's where I went, okay, let's start with maybe just making more time to go and work out. From that point onward, I realized that maybe also a change of environment would give me something better. And I resigned, started my own company. I'm a lot better now. Life got a lot more clear.
Noodles once were my daily crave, until they led me into a hell's cave. Now I strive for meals that heal. Noodles, the aroma, the flavor just feels like, oh my god, these noodles are good. But then, you're in showbiz, you can't be.
Welcome back. Now, politics and democratic governance dominated discussions at the 8th People's Dialogue Festival currently underway at Uhuru Park, where leaders and stakeholders are engaging on country's electoral future. Speaking during the forum, IEBC Chairperson Erastus Ethekon reaffirmed the Commission's commitment to delivering credible and transparent elections in 2027. Paul Kirobi has more.
The chairperson of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, Erastus Ethekon, has assured Kenyans that the next general election under his leadership will be free and fair. Speaking during the 8th People Dialogue Festival convened by the Center for Multi-Party Democracy, Ethekon emphasized that democracy thrives on participation, trust and youth engagement. This as he urged Kenyans to register as voters in large numbers.
Are we there for the 50 million of us or 55 million of us? Are we going to cede that responsibility to a particular category of Kenyans to continue making us believe that there's no trust in our institution that manages our elections? This is the dialogue that we need to have.
Ethekon also called for structured dialogue on boundary delimitation, stronger regulation of campaign financing, and a firm end to electoral violence.
When I look at the law, we don't have a mandate for providing security in the country. The mandate rests elsewhere.
Earlier, former Meru Governor Kiraitu Murungi warned that failure to strengthen campaign financing laws is increasingly becoming a threat to Kenya's democracy.
Opaque political financing, open bribery of voters is posing a serious threat to democracy in this country.
Makueni Senator Dan Manzo raised concerns over the credibility of the voter register, urging the IEBC to clean up its data to eliminate the names of deceased persons and restore public confidence in the commission.
But some two very interesting young people came to me and told me that after running AI to the voter register, they found that 7 million voters cannot be positively identified. They don't have their bios, they don't have their picture.
Festival also featured remarks from CMD Executive Director Franklin Mukwanja and the Ambassador of the Netherlands to Kenya.
Our mandate is to convene, to create safe, inclusive, structured, issue-based dialogue spaces.
Paul Kirobi, TV47, Nairobi.
Let's buckle down to some business where Absa Bank Kenya has posted a profit after tax of 22.9 billion shillings for the 2025 financial year, representing a 10% growth compared to the previous year. The lender demonstrated resilience despite a decline in net interest income, offsetting the dip with strong gains in non-interest revenue streams. Net interest income fell from 46.2 billion shillings to 43.3 billion shillings, but the bank recorded a 12% rise in non-interest income to 18.1 billion shillings. Shareholders benefited from the improved performance, with the board approving a 17% increase in dividends to 2.05 shillings per share. The results reflect the bank's strategic focus and position for continued growth in the 2026 financial year.
What defines our financials is the reference rates that we basically use for pricing, mainly the balance sheet. We are showing total assets picking up 6%. The differential there will be the growth in our government securities, a growth of about 15% in this period. A drop in net interest income, you see a drop of 6%. From 46.2 to 43.3 on this reporting period, again, to the fact that a 270 basis point drop in lending, while the cost of fund a drop of 170, you see the margins coming down by about 100 basis point within this period.
We jump into the field now, where Nairobi United and KCB FC settled for a 1-1 draw in a tightly contested Kenya Premier League clash at the Ulinzi Sports Complex early today. KCB struck early, breaking the deadlock in the 10th minute before Nairobi United rallied to find a 31st minute equalizer, ensuring the sides headed into the break level and ultimately shared the spoils. The result leaves KCB 8th on the log with 33 points from 23 matches, while Nairobi United sit 10th with 30 points. League leaders Gor Mahia continue to command the summit with 49 points ahead of AFC Leopards and Shabana AFC.
Kweli nashukuru kwa hiyo alama moja. Tumecheza takriban karibu dakika 30 tukiwa na mtu mmoja nje. So nafikiria vijana wameweza kujituma, na hata unaona baada ya mechi kuna wengine wameweza kulala. Wameweza kujituma zaidi na nawapatia kongole kwa hiyo point moja.
Sijaridhika sababu first of all kukua penalty kuangalia kwangu. Ya pili sisi wenyewe tumejishinda sababu tumepata chances zile. Lack of intelligence in front of the goal. Lack of desire. Somebody is a striker but he's there. He doesn't know why he's there. How can you get that free ball like from Cairo and you cannot score? You are alone. What is that? As a player, how can you call yourself a striker in front of the goal? Simple ball where you can just control the ball and pass it. It's ourselves, not about the game. Yeah, the City Stars, or Nairobi United, they played well, but also the referee given them advantage. The penalty which was not there.
The Harambee Starlets face a stand test tonight as they take on the Ivory Coast women's national football team in their second international friendly at the Alassane Ouattara Olympic Stadium, with kickoff set for 10 p.m. East African time. The encounter forms part of Kenya's final build-up to upcoming Women's Africa Cup of Nations in Morocco, where head coach Beldin Odember has named a 25-player squad tasked with sharpening tactics and building confidence. Kenya will open their Group A campaign against the Morocco women's national football team on the 17th, marking the country's return to the continental stage for the first time since 2016.
Benefit is friendly, nikuwa prepare, kukuwa tu ready, unaelewa. Ndio kuona place iko na mistake, ndio next training na makoches waone pale tuko na makosa warekebishe before AFCON, unaelewa. Juu Benin pia wako wa rahisi, but ilisha happen Kenya imehappen. Tuna focus pa next game ambayo ni tunacheza na Ivory Coast.
Arsenal FC will be aiming to extend their stay at the top of the Premier League table when they face Brighton and Hove.
You have to be an 8 soon.
Junk food is ultra-processed food that has low nutritional value. It is often high in salt, fat, and sugar in very unhealthy quantities.
My name is Nakiat, and I'm 13 years old. I love noodles.
Ultra-processed foods are heavily engineered products, designed with improved shelf life, texture, flavor, and appearance in mind. This makes them super tasty, so they're able to trigger strong cravings.
When I started poetry when I was 2.5, when my school needed a toddler to say their anniversary poem, I proceeded from there to winning Talented Kids in 2019. I was actually the first poet to reach the grand finale. There was this organization called the CVF, Climate Vulnerable Forum. I became their thematic youth ambassador. There's some
All right, a reminder on what we'll be discussing this evening with the panelists, just to showcase the faces that we have momentarily. They're already in studio with us looking at a lot of issues as far as politics is concerned. UDA and ODM coalition, that of course has to be on the table. And of course, we shall be analyzing the PG yesterday of ODM and what is the way forward. So we take a short break. When we circle back, you want to engage, of course, with us also on socials. That's TV47, that is TV47 Digital on X and TV47 on Facebook. Right, make sure we commune, and of course, have a conversation on that particular side of the platform. We'll take a short break right now. Don't go away.